Thus have I heard on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Sawati in Jeta's Grove, Anathan Pendika's park. There he addressed the monks thus. Monks, Venerable Sir, there replied, the Blessed One said this. Do you know who Sāriputta is? No. Do you?
Is he like the head, one of the head monks?
Well, he was the first chief disciple. He was second to the Buddha in wisdom. In other words, he understood dependent origination real well. Monks, Sāriputta is wise. Sāriputta has great wisdom. Sāriputta has wide wisdom. Sāriputta has joyous wisdom. Sāriputta has quick wisdom. Sāriputta has keen wisdom. Sāriputta has penetrative wisdom. During half a month, monks, Sāriputta gained insight into states one by one as they occurred. Now, Sāriputta's insight into states one by one as they occurred was this. Here, monks, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states. How do you become secluded from sensual pleasures? This isn't time to be quiet. This is a time to be answering questions.
Close your eyes.
Yeah, that's right. The sensual pleasure of seeing is not there then, right? And you do that with all of the sense doors. If a sound occurs, what do? You don't follow the sound and pay attention to it. You let it go and come back to your object of meditation after 6 hours, right? How do you become secluded from unwholesome states? Your turn. There's no such a thing as a wrong answer, so just throw out whatever you think.
With your thoughts.
Well, to become secluded from unwholesome states means that you're staying on your object of meditation. Sāriputta entered upon and abided in the first jhana, which is accompanied by thinking and examining thought, with joy and happiness born of seclusion. And the states in the first jhana, the thinking, the examining thought, the joy, the happiness, the unification of mind, the contact, feeling, perception, volition, and mind. Now the 5 aggregates, that's what this is called. Whenever the 5 aggregates are present, the 4 foundations of mindfulness are there. Okay, 4 foundations of mindfulness: body, feeling, mind objects. 5 aggregates: body, feeling, same. Perception, that goes in with the feeling. Thoughts, mind objects, and consciousness, mind. So it's a different way of saying the same thing. The enthusiasm, decision, energy, mindfulness, equanimity, and attention. These states were defined by him one by one as they occurred. Known to him those states arose, known they were present, known they disappeared. He understood thus: so indeed these states, not having been, come into being; having been, they vanish. Makes sense, right? Regarding these states, he abided unattracted. He didn't try to hold on to them. Unrepelled. He didn't try to push them away. independent, detached, free, dissociated, with a mind rid of barriers. He saw everything as it was without taking it personally. He understood there's an escape beyond this, and with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed that there is. So what he's saying is, you get into the first jhana, you know you have more stuff to do. Okay? Again, monks, with the stilling of thinking and examining thought, Sāriputta entered upon and abided in the second jhana. Which has self-confidence and stillness of mind without thinking and examining thought, with joy and happiness born of collectedness. Now, when you get into the second jhana, if you try to verbalize the wish in your mind, you'll start to get a headache. So you need to let go of the verbalization and just bring up that feeling. Now, there's 5 kinds of joy. 3 kinds of joy anybody experiences when the conditions are right. Doesn't matter whether they do any mental training or not. The last 2 kinds of joy only occur when you do some mental training. The first kind of joy is like goosebumps. It's kind of a happy feeling. It's there for a little while. It's kind of weak. But it disappears fairly quickly, and you feel kind of peaceful and calm afterwards. The next kind of joy is like a flash of lightning. It's pretty intense, but it's only there for a short period of time, and then it disappears. The next kind of joy is like being in the ocean and having a wave come over you, a wave of joy, and then another wave of joy. Now, always after joy, there is a feeling of tranquility. With the first kind of joy, it doesn't last very long. The next one, it lasts a little bit longer. The next one, it can last a little longer. The last 2 kinds of joy that arise only occur through meditation. The next kind of joy is called uplifting joy. You feel really light in your body, you feel light in your mind. It's a happy feeling, it has some excitement in it. This is good stuff, I like this. Always after this arises, your mind will become very, very calm and very peaceful. And then you'll feel really, really comfortable in your mind and in your body. This is the way it works. This is what the Buddha calls happiness. So you're able to stay on your object of meditation without much effort at all. And you'll start to stay on your object of meditation for a few minutes at a time. 3-5 minutes without being distracted. The last kind of joy is called all-pervading joy. Now, every one, or these last 2 kinds of joy, they happen all over your body. But this all-pervading joy, it feels like it's oozing out of every cell in your body. It's like taking a cup and just filling it up, and it spills over the whole thing, and there's no part of your body that doesn't experience this kind of joy. It doesn't have so much excitement in it. This is a calmer kind of joy. Whoever makes the faces of the Buddha image. Quite often they'll have the eyes half open. And this is the artist trying to show you this is one of the things that happens when joy arises. This kind of joy, the all-pervading joy. Your eyes will just pop open. And you think, well, that's a little bit strange. And you close your eyes and they pop open again. So you close your eyes and they pop open again. So you say, okay, you want to stay open, stay open. I'm not going to mess with you anymore. But this kind of joy is a more calm kind of joy. It doesn't have so much excitement in it. And this is called the awakening factor of joy. I don't like to use the word enlightenment factor because enlightenment doesn't mean the same thing as being awake. If I tell you something you don't know, I've enlightened you. But when you become awake, now you're talking about something completely different. And the states in the second jhana. When you get to the second jhana, you start to get confidence in yourself. You start to feel like, yeah, I'm starting to understand this. This is good. I have students come to me and they tell me, I hear you say the 6 R's and I hear you smile and yada, yada, yada all the time. And now I understand it. And then after you go a little bit deeper, you come and say, I thought I understood it, but now I really understand it. So you start having more confidence that you know what you're doing. So the doubts kind of fade away. The joy, the happiness, the unification of mind. Now this is while you're in the jhana that you're experiencing all of this stuff. The contact, feeling, perception, formation, and mind. The enthusiasm, decision, energy, mindfulness, equanimity, and attention. These were defined by him one by one as they occurred. Known to him those states arose, known they were present, known they disappeared. He understood this, and with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed that there's still more to do. Again, monks, with the fading away of joy, Sāriputta abided in equanimity, mindful and fully aware. Still feeling happiness with the body, he entered upon and abided in the third jhana, on account of which noble ones announce, he has a pleasant abiding who has equanimity and is mindful. So when you get into the third jhana, the joy fades away. You won't, it's too coarse a feeling, your mind doesn't want it anymore. You start feeling really, really comfortable in your mind and in your body. And you start having this strong sense of equanimity. That's balance of mind. You hear things, but they don't make your mind shake. It's kind of like they just kind of float on through without you know that it happened, but you don't get involved with it at all. As you begin to relax and calm down more, and you lose tension in your mind, you lose tension in your body, and that's what you feel. Your hands are like this, all of a sudden your hands will just disappear. Maybe all of your arms, or your shoulders, or your legs. This is the way it's supposed to happen. Now, if you have contact, somebody comes up and they touch you, you would know that you were touched. But your mind doesn't shake. It's just, okay, there was touch there. Other than that, you don't really feel your body very much. Your balance of mind starts to get stronger. Your awareness of things around you starts to get sharper. Now, with the other practices and meditation that you did, if you got into a jhana up to the third jhana, you would not have a body. You wouldn't know anybody would touch you, because your mind is very one-pointedly focused just on one thing. When you add the relaxed step of the 6 R's into your practice, you don't go as deep into the meditation. So instead of doing this with your mind, what you're starting to do is this, and improve your peripheral vision. You don't have a mind that just sticks on one thing. You have a mind that's more aware of everything around. But because of the equanimity, there's not a lot of shaking going on. There's not a lot of wobbling by your mind. You hear a sound. You hear the mule going by, or you hear a motorcycle going by, or you hear a truck going by. You know that was there. But it's like okay, so what? You have this very strong balance of mind. And the states in the third jhana, the equanimity, the happiness, the mindfulness, the full awareness and unification of mind. The contact, feeling, perception, formations, and mind. The 5 aggregates again. So you have your mindfulness while you're in the jhana, which means you have insights come while you're in the jhana. That's why we call this particular practice TWIM. Tranquil Wisdom Insight Meditation. We just made that up a little while ago, so.
You sound like Elmer Fudd. Twim.
These states were defined by him one by one as they occurred. Known to him those states arose, known they were present, known they disappeared. He understood, and with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed there's still more to go. Even when you get to the third jhana, you still have your beginner status. You're still a rookie. But you're fast getting to the advanced stage. Again, monks, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, with the previous disappearance of joy and grief, Sāriputta entered upon and abided in the fourth jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, and purity of mindfulness due to equanimity. Now, what happens when you're practicing loving kindness? The whole time you're sending loving kindness from your heart area. But when you get to this stage, you don't feel your body unless there's contact, somebody touching you. The feeling of loving kindness comes up into your head, and you don't try to push it back down. You just let it be there. the equanimity that you feel is very much stronger. And this is when I'll come along and tell you, now you've become an advanced meditator. Some people don't believe it when I tell them that. But I think now they're starting to. So your equanimity becomes very strong. When you get to this stage, I will change your meditation. You'll still be doing loving kindness, but in a different way. I won't go into that right now. But you start to realize that your mind is a lot more controllable as long as you stay on your object of meditation. You'll be able to stay there for longer periods of time. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, without having any disturbance. It's kind of nice. And the states in the fourth jhana, the equanimity, the neither painful nor pleasant feeling, the mental unconcern due to tranquility. Your mind becomes very peaceful, very calm. And you can see disturbing things coming. It's like when you first start doing the meditation, your mind is flip-flopping like this. Okay? And as you go deeper, it doesn't move quite as much. And then when you get to the fourth jhana, instead of flip-flopping, it's vibrating. And you'll see when you're in the fourth jhana, sometimes you'll be able to see a thought starts arising. And when it does, you'll see your mind starting to wobble. And if you notice that right then, and you 6R, then your mind will stay on your object of meditation. If you don't notice it, then you get carried away and you get distracted. You're no longer in the jhana when you have a hindrance arise. Now, the thing with the hindrances is that they are very necessary parts of the practice, because your mind is on your object of meditation and a thought comes up or a sensation or whatever it happens to be. And you're with that for a little while, and then you 6R it, and then you relax and smile and come back, and then you do it again and again and again, and you're bouncing back and forth. Every time you 6R the hindrance, it gets a little bit weaker, and you're losing your attachment to the hindrance. Eventually, that hindrance, because you stop feeding it with your attention, that hindrance just fades away by itself. What happens after that? You have a very strong sense of relief. Right after that, joy arises. Joy will be there for a little while, and you've taken enough meditation retreats. You've heard this statement: when joy arises, don't be attached. Right? Well, how do you not be attached to joy? Joy and pain, same coin, different sides. What do you do with pain? Let go of the thoughts, relax, smile, come back to your object of meditation. You do the same thing with the joy. If you try to hold on to the joy because it feels real good and you want it to stay, that's the fastest way to make it disappear. When you just allow it to be there by itself and you come back to your object of meditation, it'll stay for longer periods of time. After the joy fades away, then you have a feeling of real strong comfort. You feel at ease. Your mind is very tranquil, very nice. You stay on your object of meditation. Your body stops bothering you so much with pains and that sort of thing. So you really are able to see how the hindrances are your teachers. They're telling you, they're showing you where your attachment is. Every time you 6R those hindrances, you're letting go of your attachment little by little by little. Now, when you go from one jhana to the next, it doesn't happen like most people think. Once you're in one jhana, you just go to the next jhana and the next jhana. No. Your mindfulness slips for whatever reason, and now you have another hindrance to work with. But now you're starting to get some confidence that you know what you're doing with the hindrance, so you don't get caught for as long. And you're able to let that go, and then you go deeper into your practice. You go from one jhana to the next because the hindrance helped you to get there. It helped you improve your mindfulness. It helped to show you how mind's attention moves from one thing to another. And this is how you progress from one jhana to the next. So the hindrances are a very necessary part of your practice. They're not the enemy to fight with. There's nothing to be upset about when a hindrance comes. It's just a distraction. That's all it is. What do you do with any distraction? You let it be, you relax, you smile, you come back to your object of meditation. Stay with your object of meditation for as long as you can. This is right effort. It's a fancy way of saying right effort, but this is right effort. Right effort is noticing when you have an unwholesome state arise, let go of that unwholesome state and relax. Bring up a wholesome state, smile, come back to your object of meditation. Stay with that wholesome state as long as you can. That's the 6 R's right there. And a lot of people kind of, especially if you've been meditating for before, you think the meditation is serious, and you got to be serious with the meditation. And you go to retreats and you see a lot of people doing this. They have these big lines in their face. I used to go along and tap people on it. Lighten up. And actually some people got angry at me for doing that, so I quit. See, the thing with the meditation, when your collectedness of mind and your mindfulness are out of balance, you can hear a sound and it'll make you jump. Okay, that just means you're out of balance a little bit. When people become attached to not hearing sounds, guess who has an attachment? It's not a disturbance, it's just a sound. It's only a disturbance when I make it a disturbance. when we were up on the ridge, there was somebody, he had almost no hearing in one ear. But he'd come into the meditation hall and we had a clock that ticked. He was continually taking that down and covering it with pillows and that sort of thing. And he took out the batteries one time. And as soon as I walk in, I see that the clock's not there. Bring it back out, put it where it's supposed to be. And he said, "It really disturbs me. That sound really disturbs me. So I'm not going to sit in the meditation hall anymore. I'm going to go outside and sit in the forest, like there's no sounds in the forest." But in his mind, that was different.
Clocks in the forest.
No clocks and no bells in the forest.
Yeah, one of the reasons we don't use bells for timers or anything like this is because you want to work with your internal clock. And one of the things I forgot to tell you, before you go to bed, every night there's 2 determinations I want you to make. One, that when you wake up in the morning, you're going to be smiling and happy. Okay? 2, you make a determination on the time that you're going to wake up. Don't always make it the same time. 4:59, 5:01. When you're able to hit that pretty regularly, then you've got to start on working with determinations. They become important later on. So the hindrances are a very necessary part of your spiritual progress. When other meditation teachers tell you that the hindrances, you have to fight them and you have to suppress them and push them away and push your tongue against the roof of your mouth and grit your teeth and crush mind with mind to stop a hindrance from arising, they're talking about practicing one-pointed concentration. Any little disturbance that takes your mind away from that one point turns into a big problem. And when I was in Burma, I was doing meditation retreats. I did a 2 retreat there. And they had these people that were coming in from the railroad and that sort of thing. They'd come in for 1 or 2 days and do a retreat because their boss told them they had to. But they did anything they could to distract themselves or entertain themselves. There's people that they could belch like you could. I just sat back and I couldn't believe it. Now, if you're practicing one-pointed concentration, any sound at all is like a thorn in your side. It really hurts. But these guys would start walking and they could belch with every step. And some of them, they passed gas. And they got so that they were quite proficient at being able to do that. Anything to distract them. And we're sitting there, and I've been there for 2 years, you know, I'm serious about this practice. And these clowns come in and they start making all of this noise and fumbling around and talking with each other and doing all these things they're not supposed to be doing. But when your mind gets to a certain point of balance, it doesn't matter whether they're there or not. It was entertaining. I get up and start doing the walking meditation, and somebody would come along and start belching with every step. I mean, it helped me to keep my mind light. So, sound is not your enemy. Sound is only sound. You'll find out about sound as these fans get a little bit older and they start squeaking. Anyway, as you get more and more balance in your mind, your mindfulness starts to get sharper. And you start seeing that your mind is vibrating instead of swinging from one thing to another. And you start feeling quite comfortable with that. But eventually, your mindfulness will become weak, and now you have another hindrance to work with. But you're not upset by the hindrances anymore. It's just stuff. So you have your equanimity fairly strong even though you have a hindrance arise. So you work with it knowing exactly what you do with it because it's been teaching you this the whole time. And you'll start noticing that what happens first when your mind is on your object of meditation very lightly is there's a feeling that arises. The feeling is either pleasant feeling or painful feeling or neutral feeling. But right after that neutral feeling, there's this tension or tightness that happens in your mind. And if you don't recognize that, then your mind starts thinking about stuff. The story, why when this feeling arises, I always act that way. And you get caught up in the story. The concepts, the opinions, the ideas, the desires. Then what happens right after that is your old habitual emotional tendency arises. Okay, when this kind of feeling comes up and it's attached to these kind of thoughts, I always act that way. Now this is what happens with people that have depression. The painful feeling arises, I don't like the painful feeling, I've got a story about the painful feeling attached to it, and then I have this emotional desire to make that feeling different and make it go away. And so what I do is I get depressed and I try to control my feelings with thoughts, and it doesn't work. It only makes the feeling bigger and more intense. So you stay depressed for longer periods of time. Why? Because you're indulging in it. You're making that feeling more painful by getting involved with trying to control it. This meditation is not about control. It's about letting go of control. It's about observing how mind's attention moves and works. Now, when you start recognizing the feeling and the craving and the clinging and the habitual tendency and the birth of action and the... Come on. You can do it. sorrow.
Sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair.
You see, I have been teaching them. But that's how suffering arises. That's exactly how it arises. And when your mindfulness is sharp, as soon as a feeling starts to arise, you can 6R right then, and that feeling will fade away. And none of the other stuff happens. This is how you purify your mind. Okay? The 6Rs is how you practice the cessation of suffering. And this is this is the whole point of the meditation. The cessation of suffering is nibbana. There's two different kinds of nibbana. One kind of nibbana is a mundane kind, where you 6R something and let it go, it doesn't continue on. Then after doing that a few 100,000 or 1 million or 2 million times, eventually you get to the super mundane nibbana. That's the one everybody talks about. Ni means no. Bana means fire. No more fire. One of the suttas, it's called the fire sermon. The Buddha talks about everything is burning. Burning with what? Craving. So you're letting go of craving completely every time you let go and relax. So the rest of the process doesn't happen. This is how you're teaching yourself the links of dependent origination. I just described them to you. This is how it works. So, as you keep practicing the 6Rs, you're trying to make it into a habitual tendency that when any kind of disturbance starts to arise, your mind automatically just lets it go and relax and smiles and comes back. See, it's this flow. It's not individual steps. Okay, and the states in the fourth jhana, the equanimity, the neither painful nor pleasant feeling, the mental unconcern due to tranquility, the purity of mindfulness, and the unification of mind. You still have the 5 aggregates: contact, feeling, perception, formations, and mind. The enthusiasm, decision, energy, mindfulness, equanimity, and attention. These states were defined by him one by one as they occurred. Known to him they arose, known they were present, known they disappeared. He understood this, and with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed there's still more to do. You know that there's still more to do, because you see it in yourself. You know. Now, people have this strange idea about jhana, that once you get it in a jhana, every time you sit, you're going to be in that jhana. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not quite the way it works. For a long time, when I would sit for a half an hour, 45 minutes, my mind would run all over the place. It was doing, and I was going deep into the practice. But when you get in the habit of 6Ring, you just 6R and relax, and what your mind is doing is helping you for your mindfulness to go deeper. Because every time you use the 6Rs, your mindfulness gets stronger. You start noticing more subtle little things, and you don't get attached for as long, and that sort of thing. Unless you indulge in it, of course. You're fun to pick on. What can I say? So, not every sitting is going to be the same. As a matter of fact, every sitting is going to be different. So it's real important to realize that you don't know what's going to happen next, so don't project what you think should happen next. Use your equanimity to say, okay, there it is, let's work with this one now. Okay? So you don't get into your emotional attachment to things. And there's still going to be times when you will get attached to something. You still will have an emotional thing come up, but you won't get caught for it as long because your equanimity will start to take over. Like the lady I was talking about last night. She started at 2 weeks holding a grudge, and before long it was a few minutes. So it does take practice, and it has to be conscious practice. It's not just, well, it'll happen on its own. You have to start noticing more how your mind grabs on to the way you think things should be, and how you cause yourself suffering when things are not like that. Being a monk, people are constantly wanting to give me things.
Socks?
They even tried to give me socks in Indonesia, for crying out loud. But they want me to have the choicest food, they want me to have the best of everything. And they'll quite often ask me, what do you want to eat? Food. Well, what kind of food? Well, good food. That'd be nice. But there's no real preferences, because food equals energy, and I have to have so much energy in the day to go and do the things I need to do. That's all. So there's equanimity even in that kind of a thing. Having a desire arise, I want some ice cream, I want something sweet to eat. You can 6R that instead of indulging in it. And that desire just fades away by itself. These states were defined by him one by one as they occurred. Known to him those states arose, known they were present, known they disappeared. You notice every one of these jhānas you're seeing impermanence because of all these different things that come up. And every jhana has things coming up while you're in it. So you're seeing how things are changing all the time. Again, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, with the previous disappearance of joy and grief. Oops, I already did that. Again, with the complete surmounting of gross perceptions of form. Now, you're sitting and you don't feel your body unless there's contact. Okay? It can be contact with an ant walking. In Asia, you have ants. Those little buggers are really tough. We used to take a chalk that had ant poison and put it around us, and they wouldn't cross the line. That was great. So they went over to the wall, up on the ceiling, came down and dive bombed. And they'd come and I didn't have a shirt on then, and they'd land on your shoulder, and you said, "What are you doing here? How'd you get here?" So there's still feeling while you're in the jhana, even though you don't have gross feelings in the body like you're feeling your hands right now. But it's subtle feelings that you'll still be able to see, you'll still be able to feel. And that feeling happens at all of the sense doors. But it's subtle feelings. There has to be contact in order for that feeling to arise. With a previous disappearance of gross perceptions of sensory impact. That's basically saying the same thing. Aware that space is infinite, Sāriputta entered upon and abided in the base of infinite space. Once you get to a certain place in your meditation, and I change your meditation to another way of doing it, you'll be sitting, radiating loving kindness, and you'll start to feel an expansion. And the feeling of loving kindness changes into a feeling of compassion. I won't tell you what that is, you have to tell me. Sometimes I have to give hints, but that's okay. And you feel like everything, your mind is just going out and out and out and out, and there's no center point. There's no place it's coming from. There's just this expansion, all directions at the same time. That is called infinite space, because there's no boundaries, there's no stopping. It just keeps going out and out and out. But your object of meditation is the feeling of compassion now. So it's a real interesting state to be in, and this is called an arupa jhana. It means immaterial jhana. Jhana means a level of understanding, and the immaterial means it doesn't have anything to do with the body now. It's just working with feeling and other mental states. Okay? Now, you naturally progress from radiating loving kindness. When you're in your fourth jhana, you're doing it from your head. And now you're radiating compassion from your head. Everything happens from your head from now on. And the states in the base of infinite space, the perception of the base of infinite space and unification of mind. The contact, feeling, perception, formations, and mind. You still have all of the five aggregates. The enthusiasm, decision, energy, mindfulness, equanimity, and attention, these states were defined by him one by one as they occurred. Known to him those states arose, known they were present, known they disappeared. So you still have a lot happening even though you're just in a mental realm. If I come up and touch you, you would still feel that. Now, a lot of people, a lot of teachers that are teaching mindfulness of breathing, they will tell you that your breath absolutely disappears when you're in the fourth jhana. That only occurs when you're practicing a different kind of meditation that doesn't have the 6 R's in it. Doesn't ever happen when you're practicing the 6 R's. Okay, now the thing with some of these different things that he noticed, like as decision, energy, mindfulness, and attention, you start becoming more aware when you're putting too much attention into trying to stay on your object of meditation. And when you do that, you get restless. And once you get restless, your natural inclination is to put more energy in to overcome the restlessness. And you get even more restless. And what you have to do is put less energy into staying on your object of meditation. You have to adjust little bits. Don't adjust all at once, or else you'll start to get into sloth and torpor. So you have to adjust a little bit. You have to adjust your energy every now and then. So the equanimity starts to get stronger in every one of the different jhanas that you get into. Even in the first jhana, you have some equanimity. It's not real strong, but it's there. You have balance of mind when you're staying on your object of meditation. That's the way it works. Your attention gets sharper. Your observation becomes very keen. And you remember I was telling you, start seeing your mind wobble, and it wobbles like this, and before long you're carried away. Now you're going to start seeing that wobble more easily, and you 6R that, knowing that there's something that's causing that. And what is that? What causes your mind to wobble? Some thoughts that come up, some feelings, some memories, but they're real deep. You might not even know whatever kind of thing caused it. But when you 6R, you let it go. That's where your attachment was. Now you don't have any attachment. Now you stay on your object of meditation for a longer period of time. Okay. Again, by completely surmounting the base of infinite space, aware that consciousness is infinite, Sāriputta entered upon and abided in the base of infinite consciousness. What happens now is, at each one of the sense doors, for some people that are really attuned to listening to things, it'll happen at the ear, but most people are more visual. So it happens with the eyes. It's like watching a movie that's going too slow, and you're seeing the scene and a blank, the scene and a blank, the scene and a blank. Now you're seeing individual consciousnesses arise and pass away. That was roughly 1 million consciousnesses arise and pass away. Okay, so you're starting to see real subtle stuff. Now, this particular state, when you get into it, this is a major teaching state. Because you're seeing eye consciousness, it's there, it flicks. It's flicking like that all the time. And you're seeing that everything is impermanent. You're seeing different things in each flicker. It's arising and passing away, arising and passing away. Very fast, but it's still, you're able to see it. And it starts to get tiresome because it happens at all of the sense doors. And you're seeing that there is no controller. You didn't ask it to come up. You didn't ask this to happen. But it's happening on its own because the conditions are right for your mind to be able to see this at that time. So you're seeing anicca, dukkha, anatta up close in your face. You're seeing it personally, so any doubt about that fades away. When you come and tell me this, another thing that happens with this is the feeling of compassion changes to a feeling of joy. But this is the last kind of joy I was talking about. And you come and you tell me that, and I say, okay, good. What's happening in between each one of those pictures? Put your attention on that blank spot, see what happens. Some people think that they have to try to slow down the pictures to see that. And you don't. You're just an impartial observer. So you see all of these consciousnesses arise and pass away, arise and pass away. And now you're focusing on what happens in the middle of it, in that little blank blip that happens. As you do that more and more, then again, monks, by completely surmounting the base of infinite consciousness, aware that there is nothing. Sāriputta entered upon and abided in the base of nothingness. What happens is you stop seeing things outside your mind. Like your five sense doors are outside your mind. I mean, this is your eye, you're looking out, you hear things and that sort of thing. But now you start looking at what's happening in mind only. And I've had students that come and tell me, I've really got this weird meditation that's happening right there. There's nothing there. I say, that's good. Continue. Everything's moving along fine. The feeling of joy changes to a feeling of equanimity. Now this is called the Brahma Viharas. The Buddha taught the Brahma Viharas more than he taught mindfulness of breathing. He only mentions mindfulness of breathing 8 times in all of the suttas. Many hundreds of times he's teaching loving kindness, and he's teaching the Brahma Viharas that way. Now there's a real advantage for teaching the loving kindness and the Brahma Viharas this way, because your progress in the meditation is faster with this meditation than it is with any other meditation you can do. And your understanding gets very deep very quickly, because it's so much easier once you start relaxing into it and have the loving kindness flowing and that sort of thing. It's much easier to see when your mind starts to harden up and get caught in some kind of conceptual nonsense. So there's a real reason why the Buddha taught loving kindness meditation. Now you have insights the whole time while you're practicing this practice, while you're in the jhana. You have the four foundations that you're being able to see while you're in the jhana. The four foundations of mindfulness are very important, just like your hindrances are very important, just like the 5 aggregates are very important, just like the 6 R's are very important. I mean, you can go on and on about it, but it's all different ways of saying the same thing. Smile, be happy. Keep your mind uplifted as much as you can. And when you do that, you start progressing in your meditation. That's the way it works. You get serious and start thinking, I got to try harder. That's the best way to block your practice. That's ever since you've been here, I've been telling you, make it a game. Don't get serious with this stuff. It's only nonsense stuff that's coming up anyway. So play with it. Have fun with it. When you were in college, or when you were in school, any grade really, when you ran across a subject that you really liked, you had fun with it. And because you had fun with it, you really learned it easy. Well, that's what we have to do here. We have to have fun with how we're doing the practice. You see yourself getting serious, who has an attachment at that time? Who is causing themselves suffering at that time? And you have old habitual tendencies, you have old ways of doing things that creep in at the weirdest times. And you start believing all of that stuff, and you start getting caught up in it. But before long, you 6R it, and you start going, look at what I'm doing to myself, an insight. Look at how I'm causing myself pain. Look at how I don't have to do that to myself. What relief is that? You don't need to have pain. You don't have to indulge in pain. It's there whether you like it or not. You're going to have a roller coaster ride. That's the way life is. There's going to be times when it's real happy and times when it's real sad. What this meditation does is it takes the high highs and the low lows away. So instead of having this roller coaster ride up and down in life, it starts to be waves. Okay, and the more you have equanimity, the smaller the waves become. And the less, you're still going to get caught by stuff, but you won't be caught as long. You'll start noticing, I don't need to do that to myself. Let's let that one go. You do that by having fun, making life a fun game, and continuing on with that. When you start getting serious, first thing you need to do is laugh at how dumb your mind is. As soon as you laugh, your perspective changes. And then you start going, well, it's only this feeling. Do I want to get involved with anger? No, Let's let that one go. No need. You feel immediate relief. That's one of the things that the Buddha is continually talking about with the Dhamma. This is immediately effective when you're aware of what's happening. I mean, it's immediate. You laugh at yourself for getting upset about this or that. You're not upset anymore. It's not you. It's only this feeling. It's only these thoughts. I don't need that one. The whole point of the Buddha's teaching is so that you can have an uplifted, happy mind all the time. That's what the Buddha wanted for you. He showed you very directly how to do that. And that's what the loving kindness is all about. And the Brahma Viharas is all about. So the feeling of joy now changes into a very strong feeling of equanimity. And it's real easy to tell when people are in a strong equanimity. There's nothing, how's it going? Fine. Everything is fine. Have any problems? No, everything is fine. This is real. It's pretty amazing to watch how people's face change when they're practicing the metta. Your face starts to get radiant. Your face starts to become very beautiful. And there's a glow about you where there's not so much heaviness, and other people will feel attracted to you because you have this glow. One interesting thing about that lady that worked with so much with her husband was she was like a magnet to anybody that had any kind of emotional problem. I mean, she would just stand there being by herself and there'd be some kind of ceremony happening. Somebody'd walk up to her and start telling them their life story. They felt like they could trust her, one, and they knew what kind of problems she had. And they knew that she had some kind of answer for them. It's great stuff. Okay, and the states in the base of nothingness, the perception of the base of nothingness, the unification of mind, the contact, feeling, perception, formations, and mind. Now you still have the 5 aggregates there while you're in the jhana. The enthusiasm, decision, energy, mindfulness, equanimity, and attention, these states were defined by him one by one as they occurred. Known to him they arose, known they disappeared. He understood this, and with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed there's still more to go. Again, monks, by completely surmounting the base of nothingness, Sāriputta entered upon and abided in the base of neither perception nor non-perception. And he emerged mindful from that attainment. Having done so, he contemplated the states that had passed, ceased, and changed. Now, when you get to this state, what happens is, when you get into where there's just vibration of mind, it goes from coarse vibration to very fine vibration, to a place where you can't tell whether it's really vibrating or not. This is neither perception nor non-perception. Until you get used to it, and then you can start seeing other things in it. But your mind is very subtle at this time. Before you started feeling your mind expanding with infinite space, now you feel like it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until you can't really tell whether it's there or not. And this is always kind of a comical time for me, because people will come and say, can I sit in meditation and be asleep and aware at the same time? Yes, of course you can. But what you have to do is, when you get out of that state, reflect on what happened while you were in that state. And there are things that still happen, but it's so subtle you can't see them while they're happening. You have to come out and reflect on it. So then you 6R whatever it is that came up while you were in that state. This is where you can start to see really subtle things. Before feeling arises, there's contact, there's sixth sense doors, there's mentality, materiality, there's consciousness, there's formations. You'll be able to see all of these things when they arise, and you 6R them, and then the other things won't arise afterwards. So there are times that you'll be able to see consciousness arise. There are times that you'll be able to see formations arise. But they're really subtle. And it's like they're a long ways off. When you get into this state, you'll be able to sit for an hour, hour and a half without having any disturbance of mind at all. And then if a disturbance just starts to come up, your practice of 6R is enough that it's automatic and it'll fade away. So you'll be able to sit for long periods of time. What relief is that? By the way, that's as far as I can take you into meditation. I can't take you any further. The rest is up to you. So indeed, these states not having been, come into being, having been, they vanished. Regarding those states, he abided unattracted, unrepelled, independent, detached, free, dissociated, with a mind rid of barriers. He understood there is an escape beyond this, and with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed that there's still more to do. Again, by completely surmounting the base of neither perception nor non-perception, Sāriputta entered upon and abided in the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness. And his taints were destroyed by his seeing with wisdom. What happens is you'll get to a place where all of a sudden everything stops. You can't plan for it to happen. It happens when the conditions are right for it to happen. Just like somebody flipped off the lights. You won't be able to see anything. There's nothing. You don't have any feeling, you don't have any perception, you don't have any consciousness at that time. When you come out of that, you won't be in it for very long, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like that. When you come out of that state, it's like you've erased the board so that there's no marks on the board. Okay, on a chalkboard. And then you will see how each link of dependent origination arises, and how each link of dependent origination ceases. And this understanding is so strong, it's the big, oh wow. You finally got it figured out. Nibbana occurs. What is Nibbana? It's an unconditioned state. You can't talk about it, because all your words are conditioned, so there's no sense in talking about it. It's just a state that doesn't have any conditions in it. And that's what this sutta was talking about. And his taints are destroyed by his seeing with wisdom. Now, Sāriputta became an arahat. He'd been practicing meditation for a couple of weeks. He'd gone through all of these different stages of meditation, and he was seeing how dependent origination worked really, really well. But he had a slight attachment to wanting to learn more. And one day, the Buddha was giving a talk to some people that came, and Sāriputta picked up a fan and started fanning him. And as he was listening to the Buddha talk, Sāriputta realized that the Buddha wasn't even attached to the Dhamma. And with that realization, he became an arahat. Because he had that one slight, little tiny attachment, and he let it go. So, this is how Sāriputta experienced Nibbana. He emerged mindful from that attainment. Having done so, he recalled the states that had ceased, passed, and changed. So indeed, these states not having been come into being, having been, they vanished. Regarding those states, he abided unattracted, unrepelled, independent, detached, free, dissociated, with a mind rid of barriers. He understood there is no escape beyond this. And with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed that there is not. Monks, rightly speaking, were it to be said of anyone, he has attained mastery and perfection in noble virtue, mastery and perfection in noble collectedness, attained mastery and perfection in noble wisdom, attained mastery and perfection in noble deliverance. It is of Sāriputta indeed that, rightly speaking, this should be said. Monks, rightly speaking, were it to be said of anyone, he is the son of the Blessed One, born of his breast, born of his mouth, born of the Dhamma, created by the Dhamma, an heir in the Dhamma, not an heir in material things. It is of Sāriputta indeed that, rightly speaking, this should be said. Monks, the matchless wheel of Dhamma is set rolling by the Tathagata and kept rolling rightly by Sāriputta. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. The Buddha had two chief disciples. The first chief disciple was Sāriputta, and the second chief disciple was Moggallana. Moggallana was second to the Buddha in psychic ability. They always went around together teaching. Sāriputta would teach people how to get to the first stage of awakening. And then he'd give them over to Moggallana, and then they would become arahats. The hardest part is teaching somebody to become a Sotapanna, because you have to teach them continually, repeat over and over again how the links of dependent origination work. And to be a teacher, there's so many people that, I want to teach this stuff, I know I could. Teaching is not simple, and it's not easy. To be a teacher, you have to sincerely believe that what you're teaching is right, and you can never get bored by saying the same thing over and over again. How many times have you heard me repeat myself? But there's an enthusiasm that comes with teaching, that you know you're doing the right thing. And the thing with teaching is that you are always continually learning and refining. Sometimes just little tiny things. Like not too long ago, it came into my mind that every thought you have is a concept. I told her that, and she tried to tell me I was wrong.
And then I was laughing for days. I started to examine it, and it's completely true.
You know, what's a concept? Well, this is a chair. But where's a chair? A chair is made up of a lot of different little parts. Is it the feet? Is it the back? Is the seat? Where is the chair? Where's an automobile? It's a bunch of little parts put together to make up this concept. All of our thoughts are the same way. And that's why Nibbana is such an amazing state, because there's no more concepts. How do you explain that? Because you can only talk in concepts. Hmm?
You played that game of delusion, too.
Well,
Where are you?
anyway, got any questions? That just laid out the whole program for you. That's what we do here. This is what we teach.
So you can only take so far, and then it's just up to us to
Well, I can show you what neither perception nor non-perception is. You got to show yourself what the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness is.
You can take the horse to water and tell him it's water, but you can't make him drink. He has to decide to do it. Right?
When the conditions are right, then it happens. Sounds simple enough. It actually is simple. Didn't say it was easy, but it is simple. It depends on your attachments. It depends on how much stuff you're holding on to that you think is really you. And it can get scary. This meditation can be really scary when you start realizing there is no me. Whoa, your mind will just... And this has happened. I've had people call me up on the telephone. They've been really good with their meditation, and all of a sudden they realize that there is no self. And their mind says, well, I might as well die then. And they'll call me up, all shook up. My mind just, it made up its mind that I'm going to die. I don't want to die. And I start laughing. Well, what's funny about that? Well, it's just your mind finding out that it's lived in the fog for how many lifetimes? Believing that all of the thoughts and all of the feelings and all of the experiences are me. And now you're saying there is no me. And I realize there is no me. And my mind says, well, if you don't need me then, I might as well die. So there's some comical things that happen. And sometimes it takes a while to talk a person out of being afraid of their mind making them die. Can't do it. When conditions are right, you'll die. But you're dying all the time. You're not the same person now that you were this morning. Where'd that person go? They died. The only time you're in the present moment is when you're alive. And that's continually moving. So there's this birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death that's happening all the time. Why be afraid of dying? You've been dying for a whole life. Right? Are you the same person you were when you were 5? What happened to that 5-year-old? Died, gone. No more.
It's okay. If you stay through the spring, we can still make mud pies, okay?
Tomorrow.
Catch the
Tomorrow, yeah.
I
catch
showed
the,
him the bubbles.
we can
He's
catch.
fine
We
now.
can catch the tadpoles, okay? Okay. Go catch the tadpoles. Watch them turn into frogs.
So what happened to the tadpole? Died.
Became a frog.
And what happens to the frog?
Snake ate him.
The snake ate it over there at the pond.
Yeah, and then what happened to the snake? Hawk picked him up and went off with him.
One of the famous books that K. Sri Damananda wrote was, I just had the name of it, now I can't remember. The only real thing that's going to happen is you're going to die. Something like that. K. Sri Damananda and I lived with him for 2 years at the monastery. He was great fun to be around. He was 78 when I came to the monastery, and he asked me to come because he said he's getting old and he wanted me to give Dhamma talks. He gave talks every Friday night. And there was 300 to 500 people that came every Friday night. And he wanted me to give a Dhamma talk every other week. So I started doing that. But he and I, every day, about 8:30, it was right after having coffee and that sort of thing, I'd go visit him. And we would giggle like two little kids for about a half an hour, 45 minutes. And then go out and start your day. I mean, that's the way to start the day. And a lot of times we're laughing and had no idea what we're laughing about. It didn't matter. We had fun. And in Asia, there's a big deal with people predicting. They look at your palm. Oh, you're going to be dead when you're 78, they told him. So on his 78th birthday, he said, I'm supposed to be dead. And he lived to be 87.
That's backwards.
Yeah, dyslexic palm reader.
Yeah.
But he was great fun to be around. He was real good. No, he was Sri Lankan. He thought he was tall too. He was 5'8".
That's on Friday, so he was tall.
But that was a real interesting time living there. That's when I wrote my Anapanasati book. He's the one that started giving Dhamma books away, printing them up and giving them away. He's the one that started that whole thing. It hadn't been done for a real long time, and he just said, I'm going to start doing that. And then everybody else caught on. Now you get free books all over the place.